The NanoExplore EU project tackled the challenge of how to create an integrated approach for exposure and health effects monitoring of engineered nanomaterials in both workplaces and urban areas. If you want to know more about the project's basics, check out our NanoExplore project overview. Let's hear about the outcomes of NanoExplore from the project members themselves. Why is the NanoExplore project relevant?
Recent development in science and technology and invention of nanomaterials by nanotechnology help us advance our lives, even with products or applications or devices. Consequently, there is a massive increase worldwide in production and in use of nanomaterials.
And I think that the NanoExplore project is relevant in terms of scientific and societal benefits, because it allowed to produce a model of assessment of at the same time exposure and possible health effect derived from the exposure to engineered nanomaterials and ultrafine particles, especially in workplaces, but also in different environmental settings.
Because it's the first large project in the European Union which is focusing on occupational exposure to engineered nanomaterials, and we develop a lot of useful tools to assess this exposure and also to assess the potential effects of this exposure in considering very important methodological issues which are common in this sort of projects.
What did you find most interesting about the NanoExplore project?
What is very interesting is the concept and the approach of NanoExplore, which means that we have combined together the exposure assessment as well as the health effects assessment through biomonitoring studies. This is something that has not been done before. So we have developed a new device, we have developed a new software to remotely control the device and all the results that were generated in the project, as well as we have generated very important data on biomonitoring, and we have also produced a very important harmonized protocol for conducting biomonitoring studies.
For us, it was this challenge to integrate all these sensors and provide a device which had to be compact, light, portable, low cost, robust, and reliable.
The most important or interesting for me is that you can access a public web page in which you can check the environmental condition and also the air pollution in the places where maybe you are planning to go or anything. Yeah.
What is the most important result of NanoExplore in your eyes?
So we have now, as I said before, the harmonized protocol, which is a very important outcome. We can use it, we are going to disseminate it among relevant agencies, scientific community and end users in general.
We already have important results. One important and not surprising result is that sometimes we consider people as unexposed, and we discover that they are exposed because of contamination, because of inadequate protection, and this is the first important insight we have from the project. Other results that we have a series of biomarkers related to inflammatory state production, for example, which seems to be consistently related to the exposure to engineered nanomaterials, and the statistical associations are quite solid, and this is also an important result.
Well, there are a lot of results, so I think all results are very important. But of course, one of the more relevant results or key results is the new NanoExplore device.
We hope that our device can help in future studies and also with monitoring of the human exposure with the environmental studies, and also because the main advantage of this device is that it integrates the nanosensor and particle matter sensor, and so it goes from 10 nanometers up to 10 micrometers, which is unique, and the system like this is not a market.
How can the results of NanoExplore be used to benefit society?
Well, so we have now a lot of results. Some of them are very important to the society because we are characterizing the real particles in the urban areas. So all the people, all the population is exposed to this kind of ultrafine materials. So now we know more about the potential concentration, we know more about the sources of release of these kind of materials, and we know more about the chemistry of these materials, so we can advise regulators about how to control this release, how to take new measures and implement a decision-making approach to reduce the release and exposure to these kind of materials from now to the future.
So looking whether we found some threshold for possible effect, we can recommend, we can make recommendation also by enforcement by the law or some public agency to establish some safe level of exposure also for the general population.
In fact, for health surveillance, it is so important because as you establish certain correlation between biomarkers for diseases, for example, and the air pollution, you can use it to avoid the exposition to certain contaminants as particulate matter, and also maybe in the continuity of this project we can also add certain gases to this kind of low-cost stations.
Well, if we show that there are some features in the exposure, at least at workplace, to engineered nanomaterials which can be harmful in terms of potential health effects, this information could be used for the better protection of workers who have to handle these nanomaterials. Otherwise, also showing that some nanomaterials have no effects which are identified as harmful for health at long or short term is also an important result and an important information for occupational safety and health and the sustainable development of this industry.
NanoExplore, integrated approach for exposure and health effects monitoring of engineered nanomaterials in workplaces and urban areas. Funded by the EU LIFE program.